Chapter 71. The Secret of the Awakened. The brilliant red light lasted for about 10 minutes before it finally dissipated slowly. Professor Sinister then hurried forward to check. Sure enough, it is as expected, haha. He was already very happy after saying this. Therefore, both the little eagles of Ravenclaw and the little lions of Gryffindor were surprised to find that the ethereal and mysterious astronomy professor actually picked up Yang Tian gently and carefully, as if he was holding some rare treasure. She said excitedly, "Let's stop here for today's astronomy class. You can go home now. Little eagles don't have to worry about your classmates. This is a good thing for him. He just fainted due to overexertion. I will send him to the infirmary now and ask Madame Pomfrey to prepare some recovery potion for him." After saying that, she hummed a song and left. When Yang Tian opened his eyes again, the sky was already turning pale. He shook his head groggily and looked around at the unfamiliar environment. "Are you awake?" A faint female voice came from the other side of Yang Tian. Yang Tian hurriedly looked back, only to see Professor Sinister looking at him with a smile on his face. "Your name is Yang Tian, right? Do you feel better?" the professor asked again. "Yes, Professor, I'm Yang Tian. I feel much better." As Yang Tian struggled to sit up, he was held down by Sinistra. "Take a rest. Don't try to be stubborn, or you might not be able to attend the class this morning. Lie down first and listen to me talk about your situation." Hearing this, Yang Tian had no choice but to lie down obediently and listen quietly. "Remember what I said last night? Astronomy is a subject that requires a lot of talent. Congratulations, you have this talent, and it's incredible that you have shown this talent at such a young age." At this point, Professor Sinister could not hide his excitement, and his hands were shaking slightly. "Do you know when I awakened this talent? I was 17 years old. Even so, my mentor called me a genius. Most awakeners complete their awakening after the age of 30. Professor Sinistra, can I ask you what awakening is?" Yang Tian asked embarrassedly. "I'm sorry, it's my fault for not explaining it clearly. Now close your eyes and feel the position of Mars." The professor replied apologetically. Yang Tian quickly followed his instructions. After a moment, he quickly turned his head in one direction. Although he didn't have a telescope, he was absolutely sure that Mars was there. And in this mysterious sensation, there seems to be a mysterious message or emotion being transmitted. Blood, forest, wild laughter. Yang Tian tried to interpret it all, but could only barely understand a few words. Yang Tian was very confused and quickly told the professor what had happened. Upon hearing this, Professor Sinistra said with relief, "You are indeed an awakened one. This can be considered a prophecy, but you have only been observing the stars for a short time and have absorbed limited star power, so you are not yet at the beginning of your prophecy. You can only interpret a little bit of information from it. Since there is no important information such as time, people, and events, this prediction is meaningless. But don't be discouraged. As you continue to improve in astronomy, you will interpret more information and then you will be able to complete a complete prediction. This is called astrology. In other words, a wizard who is proficient in astrology must be awakened." Yang Tian seemed to have grasped the key point. Of course, it's not just astrology. Any form of divination without awakening is just nonsense. Do you understand what I mean? And I must remind you that prophecies are divided into high and low levels. The higher the level of the awakener, the more comprehensive the information that can be interpreted, and the higher the level of the prophecy that can be interpreted. So astronomy class is a prerequisite for divination? Yang Tian asked again. Of course not. Professor Sinistra cried out like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Astronomy is an independent discipline. Its essence is gain or loss. It gains energy from visualizing the stars, which enhances one's own capabilities and weakens the enemy's combat power. Yang Tian opened his mouth in shock when he heard this. A word popped up in his mind involuntarily, buff. Isn't this just stacking buffs? Is there such a thing in this world? I have never heard of it before. Could it be that he has come to a high-end version of the Harry Potter world? As if she could see Yang Tian's confusion and shock, Professor Sinistra suddenly became depressed. She whispered. "It's normal that you haven't heard of it, because in today's world, or even 100 years ago, no one can perform such magic. Those are ancient secrets, and the inheritance has long been cut off. This is also the fundamental reason why astronomy is isolated from the framework of magic, or becomes a prerequisite for divination. This question and answer made Yang Tian suddenly enlightened, but at the same time he was a little disappointed and frustrated. He was speechless for a while. Professor Sinistra seemed to have opened up a conversation. Don't be discouraged, kid. Each of us who have awakened is doing our best to complete the lost heritage of astronomy, even if it takes our entire lives. Of course, the awakened are not completely powerless. Now feel it and see if the magic power has changed. Yang Tian was moved when he heard this, and immediately started to look inside. After this check, his heart was already filled with ecstasy. However, he saw that the size of the fire element in his danshan had doubled again, occupying almost half of the space in his danshan. More importantly, the fire element had evolved again. The evolved fire element no longer stays rigidly in one place, but from time to time it actively transforms into a firebird and plays with the strange little dragon transformed from the candle dragon's eye wand. It is truly amazing. At the same time, the darkness in Yang Tian's mind was brightened twice as much as before, and his magic power also doubled. How could he not be surprised by such a comprehensive improvement? But at the same time of surprise, Yang Tian also had a little worry, because he seemed to have a hunch that the balance was broken, and the current state was not very pleasant. This was by no means an exaggeration, because he could feel some disharmony in his body, just like his danshan. The water element, which had never evolved, had now been squeezed into a very small space in the corner and dared not move at all. Yang Tian calmed down and finally made up his mind, before the water element evolves, he must not mess around anymore. After checking his progress, Yang Tian felt relieved. But he suddenly remembered the vague prophecy of not yet entering the realm, and a feeling of uneasiness suddenly emerged. After a brief thought, Yang Tian asked eagerly, "Professor, can you do a divination for me and calculate my current situation? You know, blood, forest, and wild laughter, it seems too depressing." Sinistra said apologetically, "I'm sorry, God. I really can't do this. With the little heritage left now, it is basically impossible to predict the fate of another awakener. Of course, according to historical records, this feat could be accomplished in ancient times through rituals and the use of rare items. But those traditions have been lost." Sinistra sighed again. As if he felt the atmosphere was a bit depressing, or perhaps he thought he had been feeling sad for too long today, Professor Sinistra quickly cheered up. He explained some astronomical knowledge to Yang Tian, and then used some tricks to persuade Yang Tian to join an academic organization called the Awakener Forum. Sinistra hummed a song again and walked briskly to write a letter to his mentor to announce the good news. Chapter 72. Progress and Treatment. When Yang Tian cleaned up the ward and prepared to return to the hall for breakfast, he unexpectedly saw Ron and the Weasley brothers confronting each other, surrounded by many little wizards who were watching the fun. Yang Tianqi didn't have the time to pay attention to these messy things. He just glanced at them lightly and flew straight to the Ravenclaw table. The next few days were uneventful. Soon, Yang Tian spent the first week after entering school getting familiar with the environment and studying frantically. Although it was only a short week, Yang Tian's performance was undoubtedly the most outstanding among the first-year wizards, and he became the favorite son of many professors. They did not hesitate to express their love and respect for this little guy in their conversations. Even Professor McGonagall, who was known for her fairness and strictness, would slightly curl her lips and say a few words of praise when talking about Yang Tian. Not to mention Professor Flitwick, the Dean of the Eagle Academy. In the charms class that was delayed because of his fainting, when Yang Tian used various complicated techniques to turn feathers into a fancy spinning top, he was completely conquered by the performance of this little guy. When Professor Flitwick learned about Yang Tian's learning progress, he was even more astonished. He even wanted to spend his 3 meals a day chatting with him to praise his favorite student, which shows how much he loves this child. However, there are exceptions. Professor Quirrell and Professor Snape are probably the few people who dislike Yang Tian. Professor Quirrell was very strange, although he would express his agreement when other professors praised Yang Tian, but when no one was around, the fierce look he revealed would definitely shock everyone. If Yang Tian was lucky enough to witness his expression, he would definitely cry out, "When the hell did I ever offend you?" Professor Snape was even more strange. There was no doubt about Yang Tian's performance in the potions class, but since then, Snape completely ignored Yang Tian. Regardless, disregarding, not listening, not asking, the full sense of vigilance and alienation really confused him. Because of this, the figures of Neville's grandmother and Ron would pop up in Yang Tian's mind from time to time. Of course, the other students in the study group also made rapid progress, and Hermione became the second best student in the whole grade without any surprise. But she still frowned, thinking about how to catch up with Yang Tian, even if it was just a little bit closer. Padma finally officially joined the group and made significant progress thanks to the study group. She occasionally made brilliant speeches in various subject classes, and her name became famous in the professors' minds. The ones who made the least progress were probably Penelope and Zhang Qiu. Although Yang Tian was able to bring immediate results to them in potions and herbal medicine, they could only learn other subjects by themselves. But even so, they still enjoyed it. Zhang Qiu likes to secretly pay attention to Yang Tian's every move when she has nothing to do, just watching quietly and doing nothing. Such small actions can make her happy all day long. Penelope seemed to like the way of teasing the junior, and she would do it whenever she wanted. Seeing Yang Tian's embarrassed and speechless expression, she was very happy. Then she planned when to do it again. Even Neville, who was the worst student in the group, could keep up with the progress of his studies in various subjects with the help of everyone, which gave Neville a lot of confidence. Although there is really only one grandma, the kind of confidence that can be broken with a single poke. But Yang Tian feels that it is still better than the beginning in the original book, right? Now Neville can at least answer all the questions in Snape's potions class. Although it was stuttering and trembling. Even if the answer was correct, as long as Snape didn't say anything and just stared at him for more than 3 seconds, the kid would immediately panic and flip through the book randomly, looking annoyed that he was wrong again. But Yang Tian still believes that Neville has made great progress, and what remains is just the accumulation of success and the tempering of time. On Friday evening, after a day of classes, Yang Tian did not go to the library as usual, but followed Professor McGonagall's instructions and came to the principal's office on the 8th floor of the castle. A gargoyle stone beast stood majestically at the entrance. Yang Tian looked at it with interest for a while before giving the password, coconut ice cream. The stone beast suddenly came alive and jumped to the side. The wall behind it split open to both sides, revealing a stone staircase that continued to rotate and rise. Yang Tian looked around and stepped onto the stairs in front of him. The wall closed again with a click. The stone staircase winds up in small circles, and at the top is a shining oak door. This is the office of Dumbledore, the headmaster of Hogwarts. Yang Tian walked to the door. There was a bronze door knocker in the shape of a griffin on the door. He held the door knocker and knocked gently a few times. "Come in." A very familiar voice came from behind the door. Yang Tian pushed the door open, only to find that Dumbledore was not in the office. Only an adult wizard and 2 girls were sitting on the sofa waiting. As soon as Yang Tian walked in, the 3 of them stood up together. The adult wizard said gently, "Hello, Yang Tian, are you adapting to life in Hogwarts?" The visitors were the green grass family of 3. Yang Tian quickly responded, "Hello Uncle Heyman, how is Astoria? Hogwarts is a great school, and I feel like a fish in water here." He then nodded to Daphne like a gentleman. Heyman nodded in satisfaction in response, and Astoria rushed directly into Yang Tian's arms, hanging on him like a koala. Only Daphne hid behind her father and looked at Yang Tian with a complicated expression. The family's development needed this boy. The channels for the improved version of Wolfsbane potion had been laid out. If the family could get a share of it, the gains would be enormous. And the outside world even speculated that with this boy's amazing talent, it seemed only a matter of time before he could launch a more valuable potion. His sister's illness needed this boy. Whether the blood curse that the entire Western wizarding world was helpless to deal with could be ended depended on him. It could even be said that his sister's life was in his hands. This is the naked reality. Even in daily letters, his father has clearly instructed him to be tightly bound to Yang Tian at all costs. But what does it matter? The hatred I have for him in my heart has not diminished at all, and it has even become more intense. It was because of this boy that her image in Slytherin collapsed. Most of the little snakes looked down on her and even isolated her behind her back. If she was not the eldest daughter of the green grass family, he dared not imagine what she would have experienced. Not only can I not show even the slightest resentment towards him, I even have to try my best to please him. Why? She was unwilling. If someone could kill this bastard at this moment, she would definitely celebrate wildly. Even if there was a chance, Daphne wouldn't mind giving this bastard a ride personally. But I can't be impatient, the timing is not right, what I have to do now is to pretend to be submissive. If the open way doesn't work, let's do it secretly, sneak into the village, and don't shoot. With this thought in mind, Daphne stepped forward and said gently, "Good evening, classmate Yang Tian." Yang Tian naturally had no idea what the little girl was thinking, so he immediately smiled and nodded. Brother Yang Tian, do you miss Astoria? Ever since you went to Hogwarts, I've felt so bored. No one plays with me, and my dad is busy with work all day long. Humph. Astoria was busy talking to Yang Tian, and when she got angry, she snorted at her father, which naturally resulted in Heyman's helpless smile. While Yang Tian was treating Astoria, he told her about his recent situation and a lot of interesting things that happened in Hogwarts recently. Astoria was very happy and laughed like a silver bell from time to time. Daphne would interject from time to time, and the three little ones were having a great time. Seeing the scene in front of him, Heyman couldn't help but smile happily. Chapter 73, Caught on the First Night Tour. At 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, September 1991, Yang Tian, who had been sleeping soundly, suddenly opened his eyes, looked at the surroundings, then looked at the time, and smiled playfully. He quickly stood up, dressed himself quietly, and then left the Ravenclaw common room on his somersault cloud. This was Yang Tian's first night tour of Hogwarts, which he had planned long ago. Isn't it said that a Hogwarts experience is incomplete without a night tour? After a week of familiarizing ourselves with the environment, the plan can finally be implemented. Today he had two goals. One was Professor Snape's textbook on advanced potion making. It contained Professor Snape's unique insights into potions, as well as powerful spells like the sharp spell. Yang Tian had long been drooling over it. Another goal is to find the room of requirement. Although he has learned a lot of magical knowledge these days, his own talisman making has stagnated. He urgently needs a private space to continue his research. Yang Tian did what he said. Relying on the faint light in the castle, he flew quickly between the corridors and arrived at the dungeon in just a few minutes. After carefully observing the basement corridor and making sure it was empty, he flew to the door of the potions classroom. Open the Ilaho hole. Casting an unlocking spell on the classroom door, Yang Tian pushed it open and walked in. Relying on his memory, he groped his way to the dark brown locker that was as tall as a person. He opened the locker door gently, fearing that he might make a noise accidentally. The locker is very messy, with all kinds of bottles and jars, as well as strange materials. As a last resort, Yang Tian could only cast a fluorescent spell with the weakest magic power and try his best to use his body to block the light from leaking out. Finally, after careful searching, he found the tattered book Advanced Potion Making among a pile of books in the lower left corner of the locker. Yang Tian's eyes lit up, and he flipped open the thick cover. On the blank space on the first page, he saw a line of beautiful handwriting. This book belongs to the Half-Blood Prince. That's right, everything went very smoothly. He quickly put the book into his white jade ring and restored everything to normal. Yang Tian leisurely controlled the somersault cloud to float out of the classroom, the corners of his mouth slightly raised because of joy. It was time to go to the next target. Just as he turned the corner, a hand suddenly grabbed his arm fiercely, and a malicious and vicious voice came. As expected, you are such an unruly little brat. I finally caught you this time. I get excited when I think of your miserable end. Tremble for your restlessness. Haha. Yang Tian looked in the direction of the voice. Who else could it be but Filch, the Hogwarts administrator? He felt very wronged. He had been very careful, but how could he run into him by chance on his first night outing? But facing Filch, he really had nothing to fear. However, Yang Tian still straightened his clothes politely and smiled. It turns out to be Mr. Filch. I just couldn't find my potions class notes, so I was anxious to find them. Is there any problem with that? Don't try to deceive me with your poor excuses. I tell you, you are finished. You will be hung up and whipped. Filch was interrupted by Yang Tian before he could finish his words. I remember that Professor McGonagall apologized to me for your inappropriate words and actions last time in the hall. Are you sure you want to do it again? That's different, boy. We didn't catch you doing evil last time, but it's different this time. Your bad deeds have been discovered. Believe it or not, I will hang you up and beat you severely right now. Filch said viciously. Yang Tian was unmoved. He pulled Filch's hand away with a fierce pull of his arm. Then he drew out the ancient wand, pointed it at Filch and said, I really don't believe it. If you think I've made a mistake, you can apply to punish me. But if you want to lynch me, I won't sit still and wait for death. If you don't believe it, try it. Besides, because of your inappropriate remarks, I now feel my personal safety is threatened. Please do not provoke me further. I cannot guarantee that no accidents will occur. Yang Tian's tough attitude and the wand pointing at him made Filch's pupil shrink. He stepped back slightly, but still said viciously. Okay, very good, you damned brat, you will pay for your actions. I will report your behavior truthfully. Come to my office at 8 o'clock tonight, and I will announce the school's punishment for you. Yang Tian didn't say much. He looked at Filch calmly and then turned and left. Life on Sunday was no different from usual. Yang Tian did not tell his friends about being caught for night roaming. He continued to study with his group members and read books in the library. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Yang Tian arrived at Filch's office on time. Just in case, he even took the ancient wand in his hand. Filch didn't care about such little tricks. He sat on the chair in the office, looking at Yang Tian who had just entered the room with a haughty look. Seeing the kid's still calm face, Filch immediately unfolded a piece of parchment, smiled evilly and read out, Mr. Yang Tian was out at night during the Hogwarts curfew. He will be deducted 50 points from the house score and punished to patrol the Forbidden Forest for 1 week. Effective immediately. After that, he threw the parchment in front of Yang Tian. Yang Tian picked up the parchment and examined it, and it was exactly as Filch had described. I'm going to patrol the Forbidden Forest alone? I don't even know where the Forbidden Forest is. Yang Tian asked back. What? Are you scared? Haha. Filch laughed unbridledly. But don't worry, there will be a gamekeeper with you. You will have to obey his orders. Yang Tian was so angry. He just went out at night. How serious a crime was this? Deduct 50 points? Go to the Forbidden Forest? According to the original book, this was already the maximum punishment, right? But everything has been settled, what else can I say? Besides, Hagrid is with me, and it's just a short time since the start of school, and the Voldemort behind Quirrell's head probably hasn't started sucking unicorn blood yet, so what's there to be afraid of? With this thought in mind, Yang Tian said calmly, then hurry up. Such a calm attitude naturally hurt Filch. Although he still stood up to lead the way for Yang Tian, he kept muttering. It seems that you haven't understood the seriousness of the matter. That is the Forbidden Forest. There are very dangerous magical creatures, such as werewolves. You will die in there. Think about it. Are you looking forward to it? Ha 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 ha. How could Yang Tian be frightened by him? He snorted and ignored him. Looking at Yang Tian who was calm and composed, Filch lost interest in talking and just led the way while muttering some vicious words. Under Filch's guidance, Yang Tian left the castle, crossed the playground, and came to the door of Hagrid's hut. But Hagrid was already waiting in front of the house, packing his things in front of the fire. Here come the damn brats, Hagrid, shouted Filch. Then he turned to Yang Tian and said, Hagrid will take you from now on. Okay, Filch, leave the rest to me, and you can go back. Hagrid's rough and slightly disgusted voice came. Filch didn't waste any words, just turned around and walked away muttering. Chapter 74, Surprise. The black-robed wizard reappears. Hagrid seemed to be very unhappy with Yang Tian, the troublemaker, and didn't even look at him. He just continued with his work and asked, Your name is Yang Tian? What happened that got you punished to patrol the Forbidden Forest? Night tour. Yang Tian didn't care and answered truthfully. What? Night tour? Just night tour. Hagrid looked at Yang Tian in shock. Yang Tian shrugged and replied, Yeah, what's the problem? Nothing. Hagrid tried his best to demonstrate his gaffe. Wow, what is that? After relaxing his mind, Hagrid began to look at the little wizard, but was unexpectedly attracted by the clouds under Yang Tian's butt. What are you talking about? Tenjiun is a magical means of transportation in China, similar to a flying broom or a flying carpet. Yang Tian answered gently. The huge Hagrid came to Yang Tian like a curious baby, and pinched and poked Tenjiun with his big hands. He had never seen this thing before. Yang Tian also smiled and got off the cloud, introducing Hagrid. After satisfying his curiosity, Hagrid said to Yang Tian with a serious face, After entering the Forbidden Forest, you'd better not sit on this. It will arouse the curiosity and restlessness of powerful monsters, which is a very dangerous thing. When Yang Tian heard this, he agreed with it and immediately took Tenjiun back into the white jade ring. After the exchange just now, the relationship between the two has improved a lot. So, the two of them started chatting while they began their patrol mission. Yang Tian naturally knew Hagrid's hobbies, and he also knew how much it would help him in the Forbidden Forest to have a good relationship with Hagrid. What else can I say? Just give him what he likes. Under Yang Tian's deliberate guidance, the topic of the two naturally came to the huge magical animals. Merlin, is this true? The Huguolong has 5 fingers on its claws and no wings? And it's huge. What? The Chinese actually said that foreign dragons are reptiles? They are not worthy of being called dragons. Wow, a 9-tailed fox? Is there really such a magical creature? Maybe it's a little smaller. Along the way, the two chatted more and more, and felt that they had met too late. But at this moment, Hagrid's nose suddenly moved, and with a wave of his hand, he took down the bow and arrow behind him, and looked around vigilantly. Seeing Hagrid's reaction, Yang Tian was stunned at first, but he immediately drew out the ancient magic wand. He, you reacted pretty quickly, but this game has consumed so many of our manpower and energy. Are you sure you can escape? Before he finished speaking, more than a dozen black-robed wizards appeared from the darkness and surrounded the two men. The hoods of these black-robed wizards were pulled very deep, and their faces could not be seen clearly. Their right arms were tied with a piece of white cloth with a hideous skull embroidered on it. They seemed to be standing casually, but more than 10 magic wands were already pointing at the two people. Yang Tian was shocked. He was very familiar with this set of clothes. It turned out to be someone from Saruk. But he didn't know which department they belonged to because he had never seen such a logo before. How could these bastards appear here? Yang Tian was furious, but he still tried to remain calm and think of a countermeasure. Bastards, who are you? How dare you take action in Hogwarts? Are you crazy? Hagrid was completely furious. Hogwarts? Haha, I'm so scared. Although the leading black-robed wizard said he was scared, anyone could hear the sarcasm in his frivolous tone. The black-robed leader suddenly said in a cold tone, "Don't talk nonsense, put down your weapons and follow us, otherwise, you will only become 2 cold corpses." "But, boss, our superiors only allow us to take that kid away. The rest will be executed on the spot." The wizard next to him reminded in a low voice. "Sammy, listen, I'm the one in charge here, and you just need to follow my orders." Looking at his size, he's obviously a giant, wouldn't the higher-ups be tempted? Said the black-robed leader rather dissatisfiedly. The other black-robed wizards also suddenly realized what was going on after hearing this. They stopped talking and just looked at the two men warily. "I'll say it again, put it down immediately." Before the black-robed leader could finish his words, Hagrid, knowing that there was no way to resolve the situation peacefully, had already rushed out. He quickly raised his bow and shot the arrow. Without even having time to look at his results, he had already picked up Yang Tian and flew in the direction he had shot the arrow. It was not until this moment that a scream from the person who was shot by an arrow was heard from the direction where Hagrid was heading. Yang Tian is a veteran on the battlefield after all, so how could he not seize the opportunity? He quickly adjusted the angle of his wand in Hagrid's arms, and took the opportunity to throw a sharp sword at the black-robed wizard in the front. This is what Yang Tian just learned from Professor Snape's notes today. With the help of the brief deduction of the intelligent brain, it is very simple to learn a spell, but if you want to use it as if it were your own arm, you still need a long time of practice. Just like now, although the Divine Blade Wu Ying was still a little clumsy, with the help of the gold element, its cutting ability was greatly improved. In just a moment, blood mist spurted out from the chest of the black-robed wizard who was hit, which really shocked the pursuers. Yang Tian then used the transfiguration spell, turning all the leaves on the ground into sharp iron pieces, which covered the black-robed wizards like flying snow. The black-robed wizards cast armor spells one after another, blocking all attacks, but this also slowed down their pursuit. However, what made the black-robed wizards extremely angry was that except for 3 of the iron pieces that were truly powerful and had attack power, the rest were still just leaves. "Asshole, aren't you ashamed of being scared like this by a little kid? Attack with all your strength!" The black-robed leader roared in anger. But at this moment, another black-robed wizard had blood mist on his chest and fell down. But Yang Tian took advantage of the situation and unleashed a powerful attack. Although the series of actions takes a long time to describe, it actually happens in just a moment. Yang Tian's unexpected on-the-spot reactions disrupted the offensive rhythm of the black-robed wizards. But these people were all professionals after all, and they calmed down after just one shout from the black-robed leader. But more than a dozen wizards dispersed in an instant, and all kinds of deadly spells bombarded Hagrid like they were free. After a series of roars, Hagrid was covered in blood and could only rely on inertia and his huge body to rush forward. Yang Tian's mind raced, and he quickly cast a fiery curse, which was a standard magic that all Nightmare members had to master. Although the fiery curse belonged to the category of black magic, Yang Tian didn't care about much at this time, as saving his life was the most important thing. However, under the control of Yang Tian's ancient magic wand, the fierce flames ignited all the surrounding weeds as soon as they touched the ground, forming a towering and spectacular wall of fire in an instant. Not only that, the next moment, the blazing flames transformed into a hideous and terrifying fire monster, frantically attacking the black-robed wizard nearby. It must be said that this fire element that has undergone 2 evolutions is really amazing. The terrifying destructive power of the fierce fire even exceeds that of an ordinary adult wizard. But the horrifying speed at which the magic power was consumed also shocked Yang Tian. In just 10 seconds, he felt that the magic power in his body was running out. Yang Tian was startled and quickly cut off his control over fiend fire, allowing Hagrid to hold him and run forward. Should it be possible to block it? Looking at the blazing wall of fire, Yang Tian thought to himself. Unexpectedly, a golden light flashed, and a group of black-robed wizards appeared behind the 2 of them as if they had teleported. Then, another wave of magic attacks hit Hagrid. Another alchemy tool. Yang Tian sighed in his heart. Hagrid was already in danger at this time. Although his leather jacket had a certain anti-magic property and could share some of the magical attacks, even so, his injuries were still serious. Hagrid seemed to feel that he could not hold on for much longer, so he just frowned and threw Yang Tian forward with all his strength. At the same time, he shouted, "Run, keep running forward." After shouting, he fell heavily to the ground. Yang Tian had made up his mind the moment he was thrown out. He didn't even look back and rushed forward like mad. "Stop him, don't give him the chance to use that cloud-breaking technique." The black-robed leader was furious. Seeing Yang Tian running away so fast, Hagrid showed a relieved expression. But when he saw that Yang Tian didn't even turn his head, he showed a little disappointment in his eyes. But none of this matters anymore. He wants to use his life to give this child a chance. Chapter 75, Crazy Black-Robe Wizard. Hagrid, who was already seriously injured, turned around and pounced on the black-robed wizard closest to him. At the cost of suffering another round of magical attacks, Hagrid had already tightly strangled the black-robed wizard's neck, blocked him in front of him, and slowly retreated after the confrontation. Hagrid's series of actions immediately blocked the route of the black-robed wizards in chasing Yang Tian. The black-robed wizards were about to disperse and pursue, but they suddenly discovered that 3 blue fireworks exploded in the sky above Hogwarts. This was the danger and distress magic commonly used in the wizarding world. This magic was taught to Yang Tian accidentally by Penelope when she was teaching everyone the relevant knowledge of the defense against the dark arts class these 2 days. Unexpectedly, it played a big role. When the black-robed wizards saw this scene, they were immediately furious. They didn't have much time left. Without any hesitation, the black-robed wizards launched a frenzied attack on Hagrid with their wands. The hostages standing in front of Hagrid were torn to pieces after a dozen seconds, and the meat shield had lost its defensive function. Hagrid's injuries were getting worse, and he was completely desperate. Unexpectedly, a bright light suddenly appeared in the air. The next moment, another wizard fell straight down with blood mist on his chest. But the other black-robed wizards were not surprised but delighted. The black-robed leader even laughed wildly and said, "We thought we had let you run away, but you came back to die. Don't blame us for being rude." After saying that, he threw out a silver disc. The moment the disc landed, a bright light shone brightly, quickly illuminating the surroundings. The next moment, the light dissipated, but a huge light shield covering the surrounding 500 meters was formed. Anything touched by the light shield was instantly turned into dust. At this time, the ceiling of the light shield was constantly moving down. "You little rascal, knowing you have the flying device, how could we be unprepared? Now we'll show you how powerful the Forbidden Sky Disc is." As soon as the black-robed leader finished speaking, the downward movement speed of the Forbidden Sky Disc's light shield instantly doubled. Although Yang Tian was shocked at this time, he was not panicked. The current situation forced him to remain calm. He circled and swooped down, not forgetting to throw another invisible attack at the crowd. He had already put away his somersault cloud and quickly came to Hagrid's side. Hagrid was already in a semi-comatose state, just relying on his ruthlessness to hold on. At this time, he was a little tearful, and he shouted in a moved but anxious manner, you shouldn't have come back. Yang Tian smiled, how could I abandon my companions and run away alone? Leave the rest to me. I believe the professors will be here soon. Before he could finish his words, the black-robed wizard's saturation attack arrived. Various colorful spells came upon him in an instant, and Yang Tian only had time to cast an armor spell. At this time, Yang Tian's weak magic power and small number of people were infinitely magnified. The armor spell was broken after only 3 rays of light. The remaining magic attacks all fell on Yang Tian, and an explosion occurred immediately. Indistinctly, black cloth was blown into pieces. The black-robed wizards were already laughing wildly to celebrate their victory, but suddenly they discovered that under Yang Tian's tattered wizard robe, there was a black Zhongshan suit emitting a golden and green glow, and Yang Tian was completely unharmed. Yang Tian also took advantage of the explosion to throw a sharp and invisible attack at the crowd. This was his strongest attack at the moment. At this moment, he was extremely regretful. After the battle at the Research Institute, all of Nightmare's fine talismans had been used up, although his father had bought some afterwards. But Yang Tian thought Hogwarts was safer, and on the other hand, he was worried about the safety of Nightmare's uncle and aunt, so he left all the talismans to them. Although the talismans I made were of normal quality, they were undoubtedly far inferior to the fine talismans. The power of the talismans I made was probably not as strong as that of the Shenfeng Wuying. Facing the fierce attacks of the black-robed wizards, how effective would this talisman be? The black-robed leader had no idea what Yang Tian was thinking. His face turned pale, and he quickly took out a piece of white crystal and threw it at Yang Tian. The other wizards also quickly launched a second round of magic attacks, and more intense energy exploded on Yang Tian's body than before. The black-robed wizards did not stop to check the results of the battle. Instead, they kept throwing out white crystals and launching round after round of magic attacks. Yang Tian, who was at the center of the explosion, was already in a state of disarray. In order to protect Hagrid from further damage, he activated the range protection mode of the Ice Silkworm Jade suit and included Hagrid in the protection range. However, this operation greatly increased the consumption of the Ice Silkworm Jade suit. After several rounds of attacks, most of the energy of the Jade suit had been lost. Yang Tian never had the habit of sitting still and waiting to die. Under the enemy's heavy bombardment, Yang Tian used his still immature transfiguration skills to make a stretcher for Hagrid. With the help of the levitation spell, Yang Tian controlled the stretcher and took advantage of the cover of surrounding trees and boulders to constantly avoid the surrounding magical attacks. But it was of no use, the well-trained black-robed wizards had already dispersed, and magical attacks came from all directions. Finally, after another saturation attack, the protective shield of the Ice Silkworm Jade suit completely disappeared. The Ice Silkworm Jade suit also turned into a palm-sized jade sculpture and fell into Yang Tian's hands. Yang Tian only had time to put the Ice Silkworm Jade clothes into the white jade ring before the next round of saturation attack arrived as expected. Severe pain rose in Yang Tian's abdomen, and tragic explosions occurred one after another around him. He also inexplicably thought of the prophecy that he had not yet entered: blood, forest, wild laughter. It's damn accurate. As soon as Yang Tian's mind turned, he fell into endless darkness. Ha 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 ha, wild laughter broke out everywhere. We shouldn't stay here for long. Move faster. The black-robed leader quickly ordered. The black-robed wizards walked towards Yang Tian and Hagrid, feeling relieved. Suddenly, there was a howling of strong winds. The huge shock made the black-robed wizards shake their bodies, and the light shield of the forbidden air disc exploded instantly. The fallen leaves on the ground carried Yang Tian and Hagrid's bodies and instantly floated off the ground and shot into the sky. The black-robed wizards realized that something was wrong and immediately launched a new round of saturation attacks on the distant target. But they were shocked to find that a terrifying light shield large enough to cover everyone fell from the sky, enveloping all the black-robed wizards, and the magic attacks disappeared the moment they touched the light shield. Who are you? How dare you do such evil things in Hogwarts? An old and angry voice came slowly from an elderly man. The old man's white beard and hair danced wildly in the wind, and his whole body exuded a kind of red and white magic. The man who came was Dumbledore, the headmaster of Hogwarts. Dumbledore was so angry at this time. Hogwarts was his last stand and bottom line. The murderous intent in his eyes could not be concealed at all. Dumbledore had just stood still when 2 figures fell from the sky. Snape, with a stern face, controlled Hagrid's stretcher and stood on Dumbledore's left. McGonagall, with anger and heartache on her face, stood on Dumbledore's right with Yang Tian in her arms. These people do not deserve forgiveness. The black-robed wizards did not panic when they saw the scene, and no one answered Dumbledore's question. The black-robed leader quickly took off a ring from his wrist, crushed it in his hand, and at that moment, a triumphant smile appeared on the corner of the black-robed leader's mouth. The shadow of a passage gate enveloped all the black-robed wizards. Then, there is no more. As soon as the black-robed wizard showed the ring, Dumbledore was stunned at first, and then he took action. With his wave of the hand, the shadow of the gate exploded into countless pieces, flying in all directions and disappearing into nothingness. As the last hope was extinguished, the black-robed wizards fell into bewildered silence and stood there in a daze. "Tell me, who are you and why are you causing trouble in Hogwarts?" Dumbledore said coldly. Hearing the question, the black-robed wizards seemed to have turned on the start switch again. Ha ha ha. The wild laughter rang out one after another, unbridled. Dumbledore and others looked even uglier. Just as they were about to take action, the laughter stopped abruptly, and the black-robed wizards fell down one by one, without any sign of life. Dumbledore and the two deans watched all this silently, their faces were extremely pale. Chapter 76, First Conversation with Dumbledore. When Yang Tian woke up again, it was already noon. The warm sunlight shone on Yang Tian's body, making him feel warm and unwilling to move. "Child, you finally woke up." An old and gentle voice came from Yang Tian's side. Yang Tian looked in the direction of the voice with difficulty, only to see Dumbledore looking at him calmly. "Professor, Hagrid and I were attacked." "Hagrid, is Hagrid okay?" Yang Tian roared hoarsely. "I know, kid. We have cleaned up the scene and all 17 black-robed wizards are dead. Of course, Hagrid is fine, but he is seriously injured and needs to rest for a while. He woke up a little earlier than you," Dumbledore said. Yang Tian breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that Hagrid was okay. Before he could say anything else, Dumbledore spoke first. "Did you cast the fiery curse?" Yang Tian was stunned for a moment, then replied, "Of course, my life was almost gone at that time, so I naturally had to do my best. The fiery spell belongs to the category of dark magic. In addition to powerful magical control, it also requires a very high mental state. Otherwise, it is very easy to backfire. This is not something a first-year wizard should master," Dumbledore said seriously. Yang Tian's heart sank when he heard this. What's going on? His life is almost gone, is now the time to care about these things? Think about how Harry was treated after he was injured, and then think about himself. Oh, what a big difference. But now is not the time to be entangled, he still said calmly. Please rest assured about this, Principal, these are just some life-saving methods taught by my elders. My grandfather also supervised me throughout the process of learning and performing. That was when I was 8 or 9 years old. Principal Dumbledore, I always remember what my grandfather said, what matters is not what kind of magic you perform, but what kind of person you are. It's not that easy to learn the dark arts. It requires a strong will, otherwise your mind will eventually be corrupted by the dark arts. Dumbledore paused, but did not dwell on the matter anymore. Instead, he asked calmly, "Can you tell me what happened?" Yang Tian did not hide anything, and immediately told the whole process of his night wandering in search of the notebook, being caught by Filch, and being attacked by Hagrid, without hiding any details or words. He only kept the grudge between himself and Saruk. During the whole process, Dumbledore just listened silently without saying a word. Professor Dumbledore, there are a few questions I really can't figure out. Yang Tian concluded. First, these wizards are obviously coming for me. They even know that I have the somersault cloud. But why would they target me? I'm only an 11-year-old child. Second, why are they so sure that I will be at that place at that time? Third, will all students who go out at night be punished by having 50 points deducted and patrol the Forbidden Forest? If not, then why send me to the Forbidden Forest at that time? Yang Tian stared at Dumbledore without blinking, waiting for his answer. Child, we still need to investigate what exactly happened. I can't answer you now. Dumbledore's tone became a little gentler. But this was obviously not the answer Yang Tian wanted. Professor, I really never thought that Hogwarts would be so dangerous. It's even more difficult for me to understand. This seems like a well-designed trap. It was me. Thanks to Hagrid's desperate fight and a few life-saving tricks, we were lucky enough to escape. Wouldn't an ordinary little wizard have been killed by them long ago? Yang Tian's words hit Dumbledore's heart like a heavy hammer. He promised solemnly, "Don't worry, kid. No matter what, I will definitely give you an explanation." After receiving a relatively satisfactory answer, the medical room returned to silence for a while. "Professor Dumbledore, you promised me it would only take 10 minutes, but look, it's already been half an hour. You'll be disturbing the patient's rest." Madame Pomfrey's annoyed voice came closer and closer, with a bottle of magic potion in her hand. "Here, child, drink this and you will feel much better." Madame Pomfrey handed over the potion. Yang Tian took the reagent bottle, looked at it, frowned and sniffed it, then muttered softly, "Hogwarts stimulation potion? The recovery time is a bit long, and the side effects are more obvious. In fact, you can directly use the Everly stimulation potion. The price is slightly lower than that of the Horcrux stimulation potion, but the recovery effect is twice as strong, and the side effects are significantly reduced." As he spoke, Yang Tian took out a sealed test tube from the white jade ring. "Hey, little guy, you can't just do things recklessly. Not everyone can be a healer. I must check the potion first." After saying that, he snatched the reagent bottle from Yang Tian's hand. Yang Tian frowned and was about to retort, but Madame Pomfrey had already gently opened the reagent bottle and began to examine it carefully. "Who did you learn about potions from? Where did the potion come from?" Seeing that there was no problem with the reagent, Madame Pomfrey fed it to Yang Tian and then asked. As the magic potion entered his body, Yang Tian suddenly felt heat flowing out from his limbs and bones, and his body suddenly felt much better. He was in a good mood and replied, "I learned all this from my grandmother. Her name is Rosalind Foley. She was a healer at St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries before she retired. This bottle of potion was produced by our Foley family and is now sold in major potion shops." "That's right, this Everly stimulating potion is one of the 3 low-level potions developed by my father Yang Wen." "Wow, you are teacher Rosalind's granddaughter? Oh my god, she is my internship professor. She was the one who taught me when I was an intern in the hospital. She has always been my most respected teacher." Madame Pomfrey was shocked and shouted excitedly. The next moment, she was furious, holding her hands on her waist and yelling, "Mr. Dumbledore, what is going on? My teacher's grandson was so seriously injured in Hogwarts. This is a crime. Is Hogwarts so unsafe? And Hagrid, look at how badly that big guy is injured." Facing Madame Pomfrey's questioning, Dumbledore was very embarrassed and quickly comforted her, "Relax, Pomfrey, we will investigate it seriously." Before Madame Pomfrey could ask again, he stood up and added, "I think I need to sort out the causes and consequences of the whole incident. At present, it seems that the whole incident is not simple." Yang Tian didn't say any more about this. After all, he had said everything that needed to be said, and the rest could only depend on what the school would do. Instead he turned and asked, "Madame Pomfrey, can I go see Hagrid? And when can I be discharged?" After carefully examining Yang Tian's injuries again, Madame Pomfrey said, "It's hard to believe that this potion is so effective. Professor Dumbledore, I think the school should also purchase this potion as a backup." After seeing Dumbledore nod in agreement, Madame Pomfrey thought for a moment and said, "Although you have recovered quickly, I suggest you rest for another day. After all, you are not suitable for strenuous exercise right now. If you accidentally injure yourself, it will be more difficult to treat. As for the big guy Hagrid, you can go see him anytime. Although he can't get out of bed for the time being, he's thick-skinned and not in any danger of life. His only problem now is that it's too boring to lie in bed alone." Hearing what Madame Pomfrey said, Yang Tian smiled knowingly. He took out a white ointment and asked Madame Pomfrey to help apply it on the wound. Then he said leisurely, "I still have to go to class later. The course cannot be delayed. Don't worry too much. This is the Chinese external injury medicine that my grandfather gave me. It has a miraculous effect on external injuries. I will come for a checkup on time and will never do anything rash." Hearing what Yang Tian said, Madame Pomfrey could only nod helplessly. After obtaining Yang Tian's consent, Madame Pomfrey obtained a small amount of white ointment. She once again told Yang Tian to take a rest, and then she and Dumbledore left contentedly. Chapter 77. Yang Tian, lying on the hospital bed, did not rush to get up, but closed his eyes and reviewed the entire attack process. "First of all, after thinking about it, I was actually very glad that I didn't bring the exquisite talisman with me. Maybe that was the only connection between all the members of Nightmare and the Battle of the Institute? If I was caught, I would be dead. Secondly, this attack was definitely premeditated. But it is impossible to find clues from those dead black-robed wizards. Who was the traitor in the school? Filch is a major suspect. Although he may not be an insider, he must be a participant. But how did he, a squib, gain the trust of Saruk? It is a blessing that he was not used as an experimental material. Besides, he had never told anyone about his plan en route for the night tour. He could even say that he was just in the mood. But why would Filch lie in ambush there? Don't call it a coincidence. Filch was so excited and took it for granted when he grabbed Yang Tian's arm that it was certain that he was waiting for him there. Then how did his whereabouts get exposed? Finally, the parchment Filch was holding was the result of the punishment according to the formal process of Hogwarts, which means that the treatment opinions were approved by the Hogwarts professor. Who is this professor? Is it one? Or several? A series of questions left Yang Tian clueless, but Filch must be the breakthrough. Investigate Filch, but don't rush it, otherwise it will alert the enemy. Yang Tian silently made up his mind. After careful consideration, Yang Tian stood up and put on the ice silkworm jade suit again. At this time, the ice silkworm jade suit was glowing faintly again. The ice silkworm jade clothes is just like this. It not only has powerful protective capabilities, but can also automatically restore energy over time. Of course, the ice silkworm jade suit is not invincible, and its protective strength is directly linked to the strength of the owner. With Yang Tian's current magic power reserves, he can only block the siege of the black-robed wizards for a few minutes. If it were Dumbledore or Voldemort in his prime, the ice silkworm jade suit would probably only be able to withstand 1 or 2 attacks. His mind raced, and his mood became more bitter. At this moment, he was even more eager for strength. Yang Tian took out a new set of wizard robes, put them on, and went straight to Hagrid's ward. "Hey, Hagrid, you okay?" Yang called gently as she entered the room. "Oh, God, it's you." Hagrid was very excited when he saw Yang Tian. Although he was lying on the hospital bed, his voice was still loud. "I heard from Dumbledore that if you hadn't come to my rescue in time, I would probably have been killed by those bastards. Thank you." As he spoke, tears welled up in Hagrid's eyes. "Don't say that, Hagrid. We are friends for life and death, aren't we? It was you who pushed me out at the risk of your life, which gave me the opportunity to send a distress signal and fight back. So no one should thank anyone," Yang Tian said firmly. "But I still suspected that you really ran away. Although I really hoped that you could run away, I still felt uncomfortable because you didn't even look back. However, I was wrong. You actually came back and saved me. I felt very guilty." As he spoke, Hagrid lowered his head with a flushed face, picking at his fingers nervously, like a child who had done something wrong. Seeing Hagrid's look, Yang Tian laughed. "Okay, Hagrid, don't worry about those details. How long have we known each other at that time? If we were in other positions at that time, I would also be suspicious, and I might even curse at you. These are not important. What's important is that we helped each other and survived, and we will trust each other in the future, right?" Hearing Yang Tian's answer, Hagrid nodded solemnly, as if relieved. Next, the two talked about the topic of magical animals that they were interested in, which made their friendship heat up rapidly. In fact, Yang Tian was very grateful to Hagrid this time. He was willing to sacrifice his life for him just after they met for a short time. This guy is worth getting along with. So after chatting for nearly an hour, Yang Tian solemnly made a promise to Hagrid. Hagrid's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Really? God? When you go back to China to visit your relatives, will you really bring me a huge magical animal? Of course, I want to add that it's not only huge in size, but also majestic. You have to know, Hagrid, magical creatures from all over the world are basically rated, and those with a slightly higher danger level are not allowed to be kept. The only exception is China, where magical creatures are not rated at all. Even if you keep one, it is not illegal." Yang Tian smiled. "Merlin, that's perfect, Yang Tian, it must be huge, yes, and majestic." Hagrid was already immersed in his own fantasy. While Yang Tian and Hagrid were chatting in the ward, in the Hogwarts principal's office, Dumbledore was looking at Snape calmly and asked, "How is it, are there any clues about those bodies?" Snape was obviously in a very bad mood. he said in a low voice with an unpleasant expression. Clues? What clues can there be? Every part of the body, even the face, has been rotten, just like minced meat. There is not even a piece of paper in the clothes. After hearing Snape's words, Dumbledore's face turned ugly, and he muttered to himself, what kind of organization is this? It's too harsh and cold-blooded. Will they destroy all traces if the mission fails? After calming down, Snape asked, what about your side? Did the little devil from the Foley family show any flaws? 9 years old, haha, he was only 9 years old at that time, but he had already killed countless people. Do you remember everyone's reaction when Madame Longbottom showed us the killing bead? That useless Arthur almost choked to death on the tea he drank. Snape wantonly sprayed his venom. Dumbledore also said solemnly, this child is very opinionated, and his calmness in speech and behavior does not seem to be fake. But the killing bead can explain a lot of problems. Unfortunately, the killing bead cannot be used as evidence. Let's observe it for a while. As time goes by, there will always be flaws. Snape was very dissatisfied with this answer. He couldn't help but ask, why not try legilimency? We can't let a demon grow because of our soft-heartedness. Dumbledore shook his head and sighed, Severus, you are not a person who follows the rules. I don't believe you haven't tried and failed. I feel the breath of soul protection in him. Don't waste your time. We only know the result, but we don't know the reason or the process. More importantly, as time goes by, the aura of the vengeful spirit has gradually dissipated. Mrs. Longbottom told me a few days ago that the killing pearl had stopped responding during the encounter at King's Cross Station. We don't have any evidence now. If we act rashly, think about it, the Foley family, the Greengrass family, or even a big family in China. We must be careful. Snape paused after hearing this, and finally changed the subject. Let's get back to this incident. Did the kid from the Foley family and Hagrid provide any clues? Dumbledore obviously trusted Snape very much and told him all his conversations with Yang Tian and Hagrid. Snape briefly organized his thoughts and said, Dumbledore, I have a feeling that these people are acting in exactly the same way as those who attacked the Pure Blood family a few years ago. Dumbledore was shocked when he heard this, and he said slowly, word by word, yes, just as mysterious, just as well organized, just as cruel. Go on, Snape. Then there is the issue of Hogwarts' internal affairs. Judging from the incident itself, premeditated collusion between insiders and outsiders is inevitable. So who is this insider? Filch. No, Snape, although Filch has this or that shortcoming, I think he is still trustworthy, Dumbledore retorted. Snape responded ruthlessly, I have to say, Dumbledore, you are still so self-righteous. And I believe in truth serum more. You must understand the seriousness of the matter. A cruel and powerful mysterious organization has actually reached out to Hogwarts. We must dig him out. Otherwise, we cannot afford the consequences. Snape's words made Dumbledore fall into silence, and the two of them just stared at each other, neither giving in. Finally, Dumbledore said in a deep voice, Okay, Snape, do as you think. I will contact old friends and investigate this organization from the outside, and you will dig out the traitor from the inside. But you must be careful not to act too hastily and do something that will alert the enemy. Otherwise, once the clues are broken, it will be difficult to dig them out again. Snape agreed with Dumbledore's statement. After discussing some details, Snape walked out of the principal's office proudly. After a while, Fawkes the Phoenix quietly flew out of Hogwarts with the letter. Chapter 78. At the same time, in the magnificent office of the Sarek headquarters deep underground in the suburbs of London, Russell, dressed in a red wizard robe, was leaning on the sofa, looking at the blue-robed wizard in front of him with a playful expression. Although he was smiling, his words were icy cold. Tell me, Felix, what's going on this time? Your predecessor, Mr. Harris, has not kept his word and failed to find the mastermind within the stipulated time. He is currently undergoing various experiments. How could you be so kind? Do you want to share the joys and sorrows with him so soon? Felix's legs went weak when he heard that and he almost fell to his knees. How could he not know about Harris's recent situation? This devil-like man in front of him, in order to make him complete the task with all his heart, would take him to see the experiments of his predecessor whenever he had time. That kind of madness and cruelty, even for someone like him who had experienced many hardships and had a strong character, he still didn't want to remember a single thing. Felix used his utmost willpower to control his emotions, making himself appear more calm, but his slightly trembling hands exposed his panic at the moment. After calming down, Felix showed a confident expression and said, "Mr. Russell, I must say that this is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, these people never planned to survive since they started this mission. After all, the mission is carried out in Hogwarts. And there are reasons why this operation must be carried out." "Oh? Tell me in detail." Felix's words aroused Russell's great interest. "Sir, this is a test operation. Since the incident at the Research Institute, we have almost lost all clues due to Mr. Harris's delay. The only valuable clue at the moment is Chula Street. After all, before the incident, 2 or 3 members of that small organization would appear on that street from time to time. The other thing is that we found attack clips similar to Chinese talismans in a few surveillance devices that were not completely destroyed in the ruins of the Research Institute. This forced our intelligence department to expand the target range to the Chinese. Even if the Chinese are not participants, they are at least providers of weapons." Felix analyzed. Russell nodded slightly, "That makes sense, go on." Felix was encouraged and said confidently, "We have conducted a comprehensive investigation of Chula Street, and our hooks in Chula Street have also provided some clues. These 3 people once lived in Chula Street, but disappeared around the time of the Institute incident." As he spoke, Felix took out a magic photo, which showed Yang Wen and his family of 3 chatting and laughing on Chula Street. Russell stared at the magic photo intently, his eyes flashing with coldness, and asked in a cold tone, "And then?" "But later we found out that these 3 people are the daughter, son-in-law, and grandson of the Free family. And the security of Lord Street is also taken over by the Free family. So the intelligence department cannot determine whether these 3 people are members of that small organization or tentacles of the Free family in the Muggle world. After all, on the same night, our battle with the pure blood wizards also shocked the wizarding world. So it was only natural to withdraw our direct lineage and let ordinary members take over in a critical moment. Although the news that the 3 people have been living in China has not been true, this excuse can explain the fact that they have been acting as tentacles of the Free family in the Muggle world to hide their identities." After hearing Felix's explanation, Russell fell into deep thought. Too many things happened in those few days, too many forces were involved, and the situation was too complicated. The whole process was confusing and caught people off guard. Seeing that Russell didn't say anything, Felix continued, "By chance, we created an opportunity for this little ghost named Yang Tian to patrol the Forbidden Forest, so I launched this test. If we can capture this little ghost without anyone noticing, it would be perfect, but even if the plan is blocked, we can test whether the other party has talisman attack methods. They are just a dozen of the lowest level wizards, and we can afford the loss." Russell didn't feel that there was anything wrong with the other party's words, and asked, "Is there any result now?" "Yes, sir. According to the footage from the video recorder, this kid didn't use any talisman-related attacks even when he was on the verge of death. Combined with the fact that these 3 people have never used talismans in recent years, the intelligence department's assessment is that there is only a 10% chance that they are the ones we are looking for. So, the clue is broken again." Felix felt the bone-chilling cold again. With a start, he quickly answered, "Of course not, sir. My thoughts are clearer now. If we rule out these 3 people, then the pure blood family that is in direct conflict with us will be pushed to the forefront. So is there a possibility that all this was done by the pure blood family?" Russell looked at Felix coldly and asked, "What's the motive? And do they have the ability to do it?" But Felix seemed to be awakened by his own words, and his mind was completely opened. He said wisely, "Sir, could the precious items we lost be the motive? The Dark Lord had contact with us before he fell from power, and he knows us well. It is entirely possible that he has infiltrated our organization. Use an insider to find out the exact location of our research institute, use the pure blood family to tie down our reinforcements, and then use the secret forces in your hands to attack the research institute and obtain the treasure. You know, even we haven't figured out this treasure. Maybe the Dark Lord knows how to use it. And those talismans are probably just a trick to cover up the aura of dark magic." Russell's eyes became even colder, but there was a hint of fear in the corners of his eyes. "Mr. Felix, I have to remind you that the Dark Lord died 11 years ago. He died at the hands of that child. But what if he is not dead, but only seriously injured? Sir, our overseas office has sent a message that there is a legend that the Dark Lord has appeared in the jungle of Albania in the southwest of the Balkan Peninsula." At this time, Felix's eyes were shining, and he was extremely confident, as if he thought he had found the truth of the matter. Felix's words completely silenced Russell. He silently replayed the entire incident on the Dark Lord and was surprised to find that it fit perfectly without any flaws. Russell's face turned completely ugly. "Asshole, you don't dare to cause trouble for Dumbledore, but you pick on us. Do you really think we are soft persimmons? Felix, follow your ideas and find more clues for me. Send people to the Albanian jungle to see the situation over there. I will contact the higher-ups and give him a devastating blow if necessary." Russell stood up and patted Felix's shoulder gently to show encouragement. Just as he was about to leave, he stopped and said, "Don't take those 3 guys lightly. You must continue to monitor them. Especially that kid. He caused us to lose so many people. If he stays, he will be a disaster. Notify our insider and monitor him closely. If there is a good opportunity, report it immediately. Make a thorough plan and kill him quietly." After seeing Felix bow and accept the order, Russell left in a hurry. Chapter 79. Solving a Little Mystery. In the Hogwarts infirmary ward, after telling Hagrid to have a good rest and promising to continue chatting with Hagrid in the evening, Yang Tian rode on the somersault cloud and rushed to the auditorium. He had to hurry to eat so that he could cope with the afternoon classes. As soon as he entered the hall, he felt that the atmosphere was not right. The hall was noisy, and students gathered in groups of 3 or 4 to discuss something in a low voice. From time to time, they looked at the Ravenclaw table. Following the gaze of the crowd, Yang Tian saw Zhang Qiu who was crying, and Penelope, Hermione and Padma who were surrounding Zhang Qiu to persuade him. Yang Tian's heart tightened and he hurried forward to meet him. Several women also saw Yang Tian coming. Before others could react, Zhang Qiu rushed over. "You are finally back. How are you? Where are you injured? Is it serious?" After saying that, he looked up and down anxiously, and his voice was full of tears. Yang Tian hurriedly comforted her, "It's okay, it's okay. Look at me, I'm fine. If there was really a problem, Madame Pomfrey would not let me out of the hospital." Looking at Yang Tian who was so close, there seemed to be no signs of injury except for his handsome face which was unspeakably pale. Everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief, and Zhang Qiu finally stopped. Looking at Zhang Qiu's eyes that had become walnuts after crying, Yang Tian asked, "What happened here? Who made you cry?" Zhang Qiu hesitated and said nothing, but Padma said angrily, "Isn't it because of you? This morning, I heard that you were deducted 50 school points for your night outing, and then I heard that you were punished to patrol the Forbidden Forest and were seriously injured. Some Ravenclaw seniors were dissatisfied with your performance and thought that you deserved to be injured and should be taught a lesson." Such remarks angered Sister Zhang Qiu, and she had an argument with those people. Yang Tian's face turned cold when he heard this, and a compelling aura emerged, which made several people shudder. He asked, "Did you suffer a loss?" Penelope quickly replied, "How is that possible? How could she suffer with me here?" Zhang Kaiyuking scolded those people in a hurry. Those people didn't cause any trouble to Zhang Qiu, but they also had a grudge against her. One of Zhang Qiu's roommate's friends was in this group of people. Zhang Qiu and her roommate had an argument just now because of this matter. She was also worried about you, so she cried. Hearing Penelope's words, Yang Tian breathed a sigh of relief, and his calmness returned. He said gently, "To be honest, I am indeed injured, but it's not a big problem. We will discuss the details tonight. Now I will solve the current problem first." Penelope quickly grabbed Yang Tian and said, "Don't be impulsive. Zhang Qiu didn't suffer any loss." Yang Tian smiled and said, "You've already said that you didn't suffer any loss, so why should I be impulsive? But we must face what we have to face." After saying that, Yang Tian had already flown to the front of the Ravenclaw table. He leisurely tapped the glass in front of him with a silver spoon. Everyone was attracted by the tinkling sound and looked up with puzzled expressions. "Hello everyone, I'm Yang Tian, the freshman from Ravenclaw who was deducted 50 house points today." After hearing Yang Tian's words, the Ravenclaw eagles had different expressions. Some were angry, some were dissatisfied, some were puzzled, and some were disdainful. "Because of me, 50 points were deducted. I must sincerely apologize to everyone here. I'm sorry." Yang Tian bowed deeply. Before everyone could react, Yang Tian continued, "Of course, in my opinion, just saying sorry is useless, and it is not my intention. So what I want to say is that in the next few days, I will double the points I was deducted. Before I fulfill my promise, everyone is welcome to boycott me. So, don't let me affect the original harmonious relationship of Ravenclaw. It's really unnecessary. After saying that, Yang Tian performed a chest-touching salute in a casual manner, then turned and left. The friends rushed to chase after him upon seeing this, but only Hermione's little head was sharp. She hastily filled a bag with food from the dining table and ran away with it. The little eagles of Ravenclaw looked at Yang Tian's departing back with complicated expressions. Although most people thought that this boy was arrogant and had an overbearing attitude, but no matter what, the responsibility of this handsome little wizard also conquered many people. After finishing the lunch brought by Hermione, Yang Tian became busy again. He went to class, visited Hagrid with his friends, studied the morning course by himself, ate, and read books in the library. Finally, after the library closed, the 6 children in the group came to the abandoned classroom as usual. However, today, they did not start their study plan step by step, but looked at Yang Tian eagerly. Yang Tian was mentally prepared and did not shirk responsibility. He said directly, "You can let me speak, but I need an answer before that." "You say it, you say it," the friends urged. Yang Tian turned his gaze to Zhang Chu and asked, "Senior, can you tell me why you paid so much attention to me and treated me so well as soon as I entered Hogwarts?" Several friends booed in dissatisfaction. Zhang Chu was slightly stunned and asked, "Is this important?" Yang Tian nodded seriously, "It's very important." Zhang Chu smiled brightly and said, "Are you scared? It's not that complicated. Senior Penelope knows it too. In fact, if you are more careful, you should know it. Let me tell you one thing. My home is on Zhuolo Street." Yang Tian was shocked when he heard this. He carefully looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar junior sister in front of him, frowning and thinking. Suddenly, he exclaimed, "Oh, you are one of those children. Are you the child of Grandpa Zhang?" Zhang Chu finally showed a happy smile of relief, and he couldn't help but said mischievously, "Humph, you always hang out at the table with adults, and you never care about our table with children." Yang Tian couldn't help but feel ashamed. What he said was actually true. He had lived 2 lives and was usually in a hurry when entering and leaving Zhuolo Street. How could he really pay attention to a group of snotty little kids? Seeing Yang Tian's embarrassed expression, Zhang Chu explained happily, "Your family of 3 has always been the protector of the Chinese in Zhuolo Street. It has been more than 10 or 20 years, right? Whenever any of our families has problems, it is the uncles and aunts who help solve them. It is also because of you that the bad guys in other neighborhoods dare not bully us at will. This allows our neighbors to live in peace. Do you remember the time our store was set on fire? Those villains locked us in the store and wanted to burn us to death because we didn't pay protection money. If it weren't for you and Uncle, Grandpa, and I would probably have died. I will never forget that scene." Hearing this, Yang Tian silently patted Zhang Chu's trembling shoulders and listened to her quietly. Everything was going well, but one day, a group of strangers rushed into Zhuolo Street, searching every house and asking about your whereabouts. They threatened to kill everyone present if you didn't tell them. But no one knew your whereabouts. We didn't even know you were gone. Later, they sent a few more people in black robes. I didn't know until I started school at Hogwarts that they were all wizards. They must have used magic like the Imperious Curse or Legilimency, but still found nothing. We thought we were doomed, but then another group of people came, including wizards, and drove the bad guys away." Hearing this, Yang Tian nodded slightly and said, "Yes, we left in a hurry, but we were also worried about everyone's safety, so we begged Grandpa to let the family members take over the security of Zhuolo Street." Zhang Chu smiled even brighter when he heard that. "I knew it must be you. You don't know how worried everyone is about you. How many people cried out of worry for you. There were also rumors that you had died at the hands of your enemies. At that time, everyone even felt that life was bleak." When he said this, Zhang Chu's voice trembled a little. "So when I saw you on the first day of school, I felt like the whole world had become brighter. I remember the day I became a wizard, I swore that I would find you. You protected us before, and I will protect you in the future. I will not allow anyone to hurt you, no one." Yang Tian naturally knew the deep affection these old neighbors had for his family, but he still asked in confusion, "But why didn't you tell me directly? I don't know what problems your family has encountered, and I don't know if my appearance will cause you trouble. After all, if you are really okay, you will definitely come back to Chula Street to see us. So, hey, as long as I know that you and your uncle and aunt are okay, as long as I can silently become stronger and protect you silently, that's enough. Looking at Zhang Chu's determined expression, Yang Tian smiled happily. Chapter 80. Trust and Roaring Letter. The truth was revealed, and Yang Tian was relieved. But the little girl seemed to have opened her mouth again, still chattering. You have no idea how ungrateful some people are. You helped us so much, but after you disappeared, some people said that you led the bad guys to Chula Street. Most of us looked down on these people and even stopped associating with them. Later, these people moved away one after another. As he was talking, Zhang Chu suddenly seemed to remember something and said hurriedly, "Oh, right, Yang Tian, let me tell you, no matter how bad these people are, they are not as bad as this one person. Do you remember old Tom who often came to our neighborhood to collect waste?" Yang Tian, who was listening with great interest, was startled when he heard this and said, "I know. Wasn't he being harassed by the people next door for gambling debts before? My father even said a few words on his behalf, and he got a reprieve for 2 months, right? What happened?" Zhang Chu stood up angrily and said, "Yes, it's him. I tell you, you must be careful of him. This man is two-faced and definitely not a good person. Don't think that he always speaks for your family in front of others, saying that you are good people and that you have helped him. But in fact, on the day you disappeared, it was this man who secretly brought that group of strangers to your house. He is very familiar with those strangers." Upon hearing this, Yang Tian quickly asked, "Are you sure it was this person who led the way? Is he still collecting waste on that street?" Zhang Chu said, "It's certain. We were a group of kids that night and came home late. We saw it when we were playing near your house. All the kids, including me, saw it. Old Tom still comes to our neighborhood to collect waste, and he asks about your whereabouts from time to time, asking if you've come back." Yang Tian's eyes flashed coldly, and after a little thought, he came up with a plan. Now that the doubts in his mind had been resolved, Yang Tian no longer beat around the bush and openly shared with his friends the entire process of the attack. Apart from the existence of Salok and Nightmare, he did not hide anything and also shared some of his own guesses. These explosive news shocked all the friends so much that they didn't know what to say for a moment. Only Penelope frowned slightly and thought for a long time before saying, "My God, I don't think the school's promise will lead to any results, and your plan of staring at Filch may not be useful." "How could it be?" Yang Tian was inexplicably surprised. "From what you just said, it seems that this organization is very well organized and the plan is very detailed. You know, the news that you were seriously injured was reported this morning. And your survival means that the plan has failed. At this time, what should this organization do most? Cut off all clues. For example, kill Filch and so on." Yang Tian agreed greatly with Penelope's analysis, and he quickly signaled to the senior to continue. But in the end, everything was normal. This proves that Filch knew nothing. Otherwise, Professor Snape's laminacy and Veritaserum are no joke. I, a student, know all this, so how could the traitor not know? Yang Tian was impressed by Penelope's analysis. There was nothing wrong with his overall view and strategic layout, but his sensitivity to information and grasp of the situation were not satisfactory. Perhaps this also required talent. Yang Tian couldn't help but ask Penelope for advice. "Then what should I do? I think there is only one way out, and that is how your nighttime wandering was discovered. Don't think about asking Filch anything. If nothing unexpected happens, he knows nothing." Seeing Yang Tian lost in thought, Penelope couldn't help but smile. She hugged Yang Tian's shoulders tightly again and said with a smile, "Tian, you shouldn't think about these things now. You should wait until the situation calms down before taking any action. For example, go out at night again to lure the snakes out of their holes. What can you do now if you are in a hurry? These guys must be like frightened mice, hiding in their holes and not daring to come out." Penelope's words made Yang Tian's mind clear, and he couldn't help but laugh. Yes, these people won't take any action now. Even if he stood up and let them catch him, they would think it was a sting operation, which would be bad. Looking at the two people laughing wildly, the other friends all had a sense of awe and gave them looks like they were fools. Oh no, they looked at them with admiration. In the next few days, Meng Jiao went back and forth between Hogwarts and the Foley family almost every day. Yang Tian not only told his family the cause and effect of his attack, but also warned his parents and the members of Nightmare to keep a low profile. Sarek never gave up. At the same time, he also secretly told his parents about the matter of old Tom on Jolo Street. In the letter, Yang Tian said, "This person is very important. He is very likely to be Salok's spy. Don't arrest him directly, but keep him under close surveillance. Try to follow the clues and find his superiors, so as to find Salok's whereabouts." At the same time, he urged them not to let the Nightmare members monitor the situation personally. The plan should be implemented through the members of the Fry family or by someone trustworthy in the Muggle world, so that it would be foolproof. The parents accepted almost all of Yang Tian's suggestions. But they were also very worried about their son's injury and wanted to visit him at Hogwarts. But Yang Tian stopped them in the end, fearing that it would alert the enemy. He passed the test of his parents, but not his grandparents. Even the next day after the incident, when Dumbledore was having breakfast in the hall, he received a howler letter from Old Fully. When a long cut appeared on the red envelope and it floated in the air and began to roar angrily, all the teachers and students in the audience stood there in a daze. Although Dumbledore had used magic to control the volume in time, the environment was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop, so the teachers and students on and off the stage still heard the contents of the howler letter clearly. "Dumbledore, I just want to ask, when did Hogwarts fall to this state? They actually let unidentified people besiege their own students within the school? The Fully family needs an explanation. If you are so incompetent that you can't even figure out who attacked my grandson, notify me and we will send someone from the Fully family to investigate. Finally, I want to say that if my grandson is harmed again at Hogwarts, I don't mind mobilizing the energy of the entire Fry family to seek an explanation from you. Do you really think that our Fry family is easy to bully?" The howling letter uttered the last word, made a fierce face with its tongue out, and then tore itself into pieces. Listening to his grandfather's angry and frustrated speech, Yang Tian felt both warm and helpless, and could not help but smile bitterly. After Dumbledore took a look at Yang Tian's reaction, he felt embarrassed and heavy, and finally let out a long sigh. The professors also felt very embarrassed, and the young wizards were talking about it. In fact, the principal, professors, and even Yang Tian himself did not expect that Old Man Fulai was a reasonable person and only sent a roaring letter. But after hearing about this, a certain old guy in the mysterious East almost overturned his family. A bigger storm was brewing. After the Howler incident, Hogwarts returned to its former tranquility, as if nothing had happened. The only difference might be that no matter what class he is in, whenever the professor asks a question, Yang Tian will raise his hand high. That's right, he had a calm and composed look before, but now, contrary to his usual behavior, he started raising his hand like crazy to answer questions. Everyone knew that he wanted to get back the college points he had lost. And Yang Tian does have the ability to do so, and he always gets the answer right. This approach undoubtedly made the young eagles who had previously been hostile to him look at him with new eyes, and they all cast admiring glances at him.